Welcome back to The Line. A judge granted a temporary injunction recently in a case that seeks to halt the use of the current teacher evaluation system here in New Mexico for advancement licensing and hiring. Another trial is set for next spring. There are two cases brought by teachers' unions against the system, which teachers and their supporters argue is unfairly measuring the performance of teachers using student scores on tests, including the controversial PARCC assessment. Eric, Mr. Education, you have an event coming up next week I want you to talk about a little bit later too. However, this is a major victory, it seems to me, for the teachers union, and I appreciated and found interesting the language from the administration that it was a PR legal stunt. Is that true? Was it a PR legal stunt, or what does this actually mean?
Well, I mean, it gets to the fundamental difference between, are you going to ask teachers to take complete responsibility for everything going on inside and outside the school and make that part of their own ability to do their job? I mean, of course they want to be accountable. Most teachers are accountable. This idea that they should be responsible for test scores, that frankly, that's a lot of that's out of their control. So we need to do more. Mm-hmm. The question is what's happening in terms of their training and support, and what's happening outside the classroom. Mm-hmm. That some of these kids just aren't succeeding, right? Mm-hmm. And so. I think we got to end the war on teachers. That's been part of the problem at the state level, and there's this really sort of almost sort of indictment of teachers. And again, mm-hmm. most people go into that profession because they are deeply passionate and they want. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's going to be a few, like in corporate America, like in state government, that's right, that need some extra help, and we got to have a reasonable way of doing that. But to really continue to tie this so closely to student test scores, I don't think it's fair. Mm-hmm.
This ruling, of course, doesn't end the argument, certainly, and there's going to be things to be done. But it is fairly significant in the fact that the judges felt that the criteria for judging performance is not solid enough. Mm-hmm. It's just not there. Is this not an opportunity for PED to say, okay, let's just back up here a little bit. We're going to get this straightened out and come right back out with something else and something stronger.
Yeah. There's always an opportunity to kind of pull back and say, you know what, how can we, make it work? I kind of take issue with, is it, the PR legal kind of thing, because you know what, if it was on the other side, if it was in favor of PED, I guarantee there would have been the same kind of PR stunt. And
gotcha.
Stuff. Yeah. Now, with that said, I think that when you look at the larger issue that's at play as far as trust in the public education system, you have parents who want to make sure that their children are getting the best possible education. Mm-hmm. Teachers are the easy kind of low-hanging fruit to to kind of poke at, and that's not necessarily part of the solution. I think what happens in these legal situations is you have PED and you have the teacher's side as well, who get so headstrong and say we just need to have our way that there's no room for compromise, even in the arena of public perception, and as a result, none of us win. And so, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances.
I appreciate Tom's point there. It sounds like these people are very far away from each other, but still, they traditionally are. But you know what I mean. Something has not come together. What could possibly turn this around that would make the unions satisfied with PED's approach? I'm not looking for a solid answer here, but it just seems like the courts are going to have to figure this out, because I can't see a solution here between the two people coming together.
Well, I think that's the challenge. And so what happened procedurally, and I should caveat with the fact that my law firm does a lot of work for school districts, represents school districts all over the state. So they're involved in a lot of, so my comments are my own, not my firm's. But in any event, procedurally what happened is it's a temporary injunction until April, when it will be revisited in basically to determine whether there's been, clear. Basically, PED has to establish that there isn't irreparable harm being caused by these evaluations. And I think, the unions and teachers in general will benefit from being able to, show that you shouldn't tie evaluations to test scores, that, especially when you have a test that is not, hasn't been administered well, hasn't had good results in general, not just in, even in New Mexico, but in general has had a lot of problems. And we've seen a lot of basically changes in the classroom to that test. And so you're seeing situations where, even subjects that we all, used to enjoy and that were certainly part of my background, are not even being taught anymore in some cases. Music and other things, art, because you're so focused on a particular testing style and a test outcome. And so I think the unions would be happier, and teachers would be happier with something that basically evaluates really their work, ties it to outcomes in the classroom, long-term learning and things like that, rather than just test scores.
Let me stop you right there. Is that possible when half your test score is about, or half your evaluation, I should say, is about test scores. I mean, 50%, that seems to be the hang up, it seems to me, when I look at where the unions are coming from.
Oh, sure, and
Yeah.
I think that is the big linchpin. That's the big problem, is tying it that much. I mean,
Yeah.
and what, an important footnote to all of this is that the No Child Left Behind Act is actually being, it's being replaced. As of the taping now, we're expecting that the president will be signing the replacement to No Child Left Behind, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act. And part of that also rolls back this idea that testing should be such a big part of school evaluations, which, that was something that under No Child Left Behind that our state and many states had to deal with.
That's right.
And so now what's interesting is that that new act will be pushing a lot of the policy decisions back onto the state. Now for New Mexico, however, that doesn't really solve anything, because we're still talking about being at loggerheads with PED, who then will have more control by federally
Sure.
to administer policy issues. So
makes-
I mean, I think that's where the big linchpin is that 50% evaluation criteria.
That's a toughie. Do you see any room here for reconciliation before
I don't.
April?
There's never going to be reconciliation until this governor leaves and they elect someone that they agree with, whether she's right, wrong, or indifferent. The problem I've got with this whole scenario is this is not a place for the courts. The elections have consequences. Susana Martinez got elected. She gets her team. She gets to implement her policies. If you don't agree with that, beat them in an election. If you don't like the policies the administration has, then you pass legislation. If the governor's not going to sign it, you can override a veto. There's a process that we go through and should be going through in this country to fix these problems, and especially in the state. And what's happened in this state is everybody runs to the court. And the court decides whether it's the NMAA, whether it's the teachers' unions, it doesn't matter. The courts implement
Talk about the
themselves.
concussion issue?
Talk about the courts run to the middle and say, I don't care what the law says.
Is it-
I want to make a
But
decision.
here's the thing, I don't know what, I don't know, I really don't know what country my friend here is living in, but here we have checks and balances, and there's three forms of government. I realize you come from the legislative side of it, and we're talking about the administration here, so
So you're
that's the
telling me that
executive, the judicial.
you believe that
but
the judicial has the right to write laws?
I think that it's an issue of checks and balances. I don't think they're writing laws.
are
here.
writing a law.
What they're doing
You've
is they're
elected-
determining
No, you've
whether
elected a
the
governor.
administration is actually doing what they're supposed to do by
That's not their job.
by
That's the
legislative.
voters' job.
But
That's the voters'
it is
job.
absolutely their job to
So-
interpret
so-
laws, and
let
they're
me ask
interpreting
you
laws.
this.
They're not interpreting law. They're
Once the-
writing. Hold on,
They are
Gene.
not
Once
writing
the
law.
voter,
They're
once the
writing
voter
law.
has weighed in, I hear your point about elections have consequences, but
Gene, this
what I
last
hear you
election,
saying is
Gene,
that
listen,
people
let me
should
say
just
this.
stop.
No, Gene, this last
For
election,
4 or 8 years, maybe.
when Susana Martinez got reelected,
Yeah.
whether you like her or don't like her, that's not
Right.
what this is about. Education was a main topic during the election. This didn't come out of left field. This isn't Gary Johnson after he gets elected saying, I'm for legalizing drugs. This last election, the teachers' unions worked against her. The message was out there that her policy, this Secretary of Education was there prior to the elections. She won an overwhelming,
understood.
She won an overwhelming
Yeah,
election.
with the,
And
all
so-
lowest,
understood.
with the
You know.
historically low turnout, less people voted in that rate to live in some of the medium-sized counties in this state.
Right.
So to say she has any kind of mandate, I always get, really concerned when people say, "Look, she's got this mandate. Where's the mandate?"
I didn't call it a mandate. I called it a victory. There's a difference. So I guess we're saying now that the only way you can implement your policies is you got to get 52% of the population to vote for you. The fact is she got an overwhelming majority of the people that went to the polls. The courts are not the place to go say, we don't like your policy, therefore we're going to get the courts to issue an injunction.
In a perfect
that's
world,
politically active.
I think you might be right. But in an imperfect world where folks feel like they are not getting satisfaction, that's what the courts
They are getting
for.
satisfaction. No,
That's what the courts are for.
The courts are not to
I
go
don't
in and
understand
say,
why the courts are being demonized as
because this is not their job, Gene.
vehicle.
This is not their job.
They're interpreting laws. How is that not their
They're
job?
not interpreting law. The judge has said,
All
I
right,
personally don't believe.
regrettably, we got to wrap up because
It
we're
might
right
have
tight
something
on
to do with them
time.
getting defunded, by the way.
10 seconds quick. What's your event next Monday you got going on?
So New Mexico Together, which is a great group trying to bring community members together here in Albuquerque next Tuesday at Amityville High School, the 15th, from 5:30 to 8. We hope that members of the community will look for that event. It's really to talk about all the things outside of this education policy debate,
That's right.
all of the other things that affect young people's lives. So if you're interested, please, well, maybe we can get a link up or something for New Mexico Together.
We can do that. We can do that. I'll see you there. I RSVP'd yesterday, so see you there. That's all the time we have for this week. Join us online to watch videos from past programs and to hear what this week's panelists had to say about a new report that ranked New Mexico as, quote, the worst run state in the United States. New Mexico has served as an inspiration to many artists, including internationally renowned Georgia O'Keeffe. Tune into New Mexico Masterpieces on New Mexico PBS next Thursday, December 17th, to learn about the influences of our state in various forms, from architecture to the canvas.
O'Keeffe was looking for an escape. So she found that thing that so many people were looking for in the 1920s. She found an America that could not be confused for Europe or any other place in the world. She found something that was truly original, and she felt that this place gave her her voice.
The impact was immediate. One of her first New Mexico paintings, Gray Cross with Blue, painted that same year, is a powerful symbol of the inspiration that transformed her work.
I'm Gene Grant. Thanks for joining us this week for New Mexico in Focus. And as always, we appreciate your time and effort to stay informed and engaged. And we'll see you next week in Focus.